And hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. I certainly hope you enjoy the show. Well, we're going to talk about music today, and Jim DePasque, who's a singer-songwriter and guitarist, is my guest today. And Jim, so nice to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming to the station.
It's really good to be here.
And you know what? Before we get started, you had said that you were on Mark Kostowitz's show, Shoreline Music Monthly, a few years ago, so you're familiar with this space.
Yes, it's very familiar to me.
And in the second half, we're going to play one of your songs, so that'll be exciting for the viewer.
I'll look forward to that. Thank you.
Why don't we, what I always do is take the viewer back into my guest background. So why don't you tell us about yourself? Take us back.
Okay. I started singing when I was 2 years old because we always had music on in the house, and it was mostly American songbook stuff because my dad was a big Frank Sinatra fan, and I became a big Frank Sinatra fan. But when I became a teenager, like everybody else my age, I got into the Beatles and the British Invasion and played in a bunch of garage bands and thought I was going to be John Lennon or Jim Morrison or somebody. But, I grew up and got married and went to work, and 30 years later, I had to haul my guitar out when my son, who is quite a good guitarist himself and singer, he was running an open mic. We were living in New Jersey at the time. We're only here for 5 years in Connecticut. And he kept inviting me to come to his open mic, and I kept saying to him, no, nobody wants to hear some old gray head with a guitar playing songs from the 60s. He said, Dad, that's all we have is guys playing songs from the 60s. So one day I went, and I got the bug, and I just never stopped. And so when I retired, I was going to a lot of open mics, and I also started to do some gigs as Singing Jim. I went out to various restaurants and bars and played, sometimes for money. And when I moved here, scared to death, my wife grew up in Waterford, but I didn't know anybody in southeastern Connecticut. I knew 6 people when I moved here. So I was pretty scared, but I found some open mics, and I made some friends, and now I have this giant musical family that supports me, and I support them, and having a time of my life.
And you go by the name of Singin' Jim.
That was actually, when I came here, that was the name I was using. That was the stage name I was using, and I was performing solo. Of course, now Singin' Jim performs solo for private affairs, mostly for nursing homes. I've worked at Apple Rehabs, and I'm currently working at Bride-Brook and doing that American songbook music. But I do have 2 groups, both duos. One is with an old friend that I started playing with in high school, and we do rock music from the 60s and 70s. The other one is more of an acoustic group with a friend that I met at open mics here, and we do sort of acoustic, easy listening music, the Eagles and Willie Nelson and Glenn Campbell and Bob Dylan, stuff like that. So that's what I've been doing. I have 3 different paths that I'm following now.
To my viewer, who is an older viewer, who used to play music, such as yourself, took a detour into corporate America, is now coming back and thinking about playing music again. Do you recommend that they go to an open mic? What should they do to get started? I
think that's the best way to do it, is to find a couple of open mics and just start to go there. If you want, you can just go and listen like I did the first time. But you find that people are pretty welcoming, especially in this area. I mean, I've met some absolutely lovely people, doing open mics in this area. And I think anybody who tries that is going to find themselves very welcome, regardless of level. And people they'll listen, they'll support you, they'll play along with you if you want somebody to back you up. They're great folks. And I found them actually on the internet.
That's my next question. How do you find, is there a website? Is there a listing? How do you find an open mic?
Well, if some of your viewers may be long-term residents around here and probably have friends that they can ask, and they can probably reach out and find them that way. I didn't know anybody, so I just basically went on the internet and I looked for open mics in Connecticut. And you know, I had a couple of misses because they don't necessarily keep those things up to date. My wife and I showed up at a couple of places that were supposed to have open mics, and they didn't do it anymore. But I found a couple. One in particular that was sort of a seminal open mic for me was at La Vida in East Haddam, right by the Goodspeed. And it was on Tuesday nights. It was every Tuesday night. And I just started to go every week, and I made a whole bunch of friends, a great big family. And I also go to one right here in Westbrook at the Highliner by the train station. And that's where I met Mark Koshwitz. And you mentioned I had been interviewed on his program. That's how we met, through open mic. Most of the friends I have through open mic.
Did you, when you decided to pick back up the guitar, did you go back and take lessons again? Was it a natural progression for you as a guitarist? How did you get started again? I
didn't really forget how to play. And in fact, I say I didn't touch it for 30 years. I did touch it once in a while. And I did, you know, I did continue to play. But what had happened to me was the instrument was kind of rusty. Both my hands, you know, for the guitar, and my voice. But this must have been in the early noughties, maybe 2003, 2004. And so I've been doing it for that long again. And my voice has come back, and I'm singing a lot better now. I'm playing a lot better now. But I did run into somebody. As a matter of fact, I recommend you interview him sometime. My friend Frank Natter, who is a wonderful musician, wonderful singer, songwriter, and my guitar teacher.
Ah.
I found him, he was playing with a band at the time called the Dizzy River Band, and he was offering classes in Middletown. So I would go to Middletown and I would sit in a room with maybe a dozen people, and he'd be teaching us things about the guitar. And it just wasn't enough. I said, Frank, I really need you to give me private lessons. Well, his family has a music school in Deep River. So I went there and I was going weekly and taking lessons. And suddenly, instead of just strumming the guitar, I finally started to be able to play the guitar a little bit. So now I've actually become a bit of a guitar player, but on my card it still says Singing Jim. I don't pretend to be a great guitarist, but I'm much better thanks to Frank and thanks to a little bit to the pandemic, because boy did I practice a lot when I was isolated.
I was going to say, why don't we talk about the pandemic? How did it affect your musical career? How did it affect your playing in general?
Well, it certainly affected my ability to attend open mics or perform gigs with my two groups, because it just wasn't happening. Restaurants were a key area where you had to stay away from, you know, because of the transmissible virus, but and some of them actually went out of business. Fortunately, some of my friends who run these operations have managed to stay in business. But it was a hard time in terms of going out and playing music. On the other hand, it left me an awful lot of time to practice. I did three things during the pandemic. I played my guitar, I watched TV, I read books. Because, you know, being in my 70s and I happen to have diabetes, I was the target. I was the one who was going to get the bad case and maybe die. So I was very, very careful, and I stayed in my house for a long time and didn't go any place I didn't have to go. And it was hard for 2 years to not be able to do anything. But my two partners and I now, we practice every week, and we go to open mics, and if we can land a gig, we'll play it. And we're less afraid, people are less afraid, the world has opened up a bit, and I'm glad I'm not losing my entire retirement over the silly germ.
For further information, how does somebody get to you? I know we're going to show your email address up on the screen, if we could put that up. If somebody has some questions for you, would that be the best way to get you?
That is a really good way to get me. It's a separate email for my business, for me as a singer. So virtually everything that comes into that email has to do with me as a performer. So if somebody wants to learn about anything that I can help them with, or if somebody wants to hire us to do music, whatever their reason might be, that's the best way to reach me. On my business card, I also have my cell phone, but I don't think we're gonna do anything with that right now.
Talk about the nursing home industry. How did you decide to get into retired care, if you will?
Well, there are a couple of reasons why I decided to do that. One is that I wanted, when I retired, to be doing something meaningful that helps people. The other thing, and one of the reasons that it's my very favorite of all the gigs I do, is that the people who are listening intently, and they're singing along. These are songs they've known for years and years, and they may not remember what they did yesterday, but they know the words to these songs and they sing along. When I'm done, they're terribly disappointed. When are you coming back? So it's really nice as a musician to be listened to and appreciated. I mean, when I play in bars, people are just talking and having a good time, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. I don't take that personally, but it is very, very nice to be playing someplace where people are listening. And I feel as though there's a healing element to music, okay? Like I said, a lot of these people, most of them are in wheelchairs. Many of them don't have the same memory they used to have. And there is a certain amount of healing that goes on when you listen to music. And so I like that that's part of what I'm doing.
Okay, let's hold that thought. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned into Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Smart TVs and streaming services have taken over the television industry. VSC TV is proud to announce our presence on Apple TV and Roku to make watching your favorite shows even easier. You can access this service by downloading the Cablecast ScreenWeave app. Then choose Valley Shore Community TV from the list of channels. Select VSC TV Live to watch our channel in full HD. Or pick a show from our on-demand video library. VSC TV is your local Connecticut Midshore Valley digital connection.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and I hope you're enjoying the show. Well, Jim DePasque continues to be my guest today. And Jim, I just want to do a little insert of myself. I volunteered at Apple Rehab for 1.5 years, and the one time that I would go every week, if not 2 times a week, would be for the music days. And I would wheel the residents or walk the residents into the sitting area because the music meant so much to them. There was so much joy. I enjoyed it tremendously. I sat in the audience and then wheeled everybody back. It was a very big deal. So it must be very comforting for you and enjoyable for you to be able to make a difference in that environment.
It means a lot to me. And the fact that I'm able to put smiles on people's faces, some of whom, do not necessarily, get the amount of visitors that they would like to get, and maybe they can be a little lonely at times. If if I can be helpful in that way and give them an hour of the joy that we all get from music, it makes me feel really good. The other thing, another reason why it's my favorite place to play, is that I'm doing very different kind of music there. I'm doing American Songbook, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Ella Fitzgerald, and my wife too. When I rehearse, I do all my rehearsing in my music room, and we have a very tiny little house we've downsized into. And so when she hears me rehearsing, she always gets a big kick when I'm rehearsing those songs, because she likes them a lot too.
I think this would be a great time. You did wonderful music when you were on Mark's show, and we have a clip. If we could show a clip of Jim playing a song, that would be great. Let's roll that now.
Been to a few places and I've seen some different things, and I know about the changes that each new day can bring. And all of these are part of me, and everything I do, but mostly what I am is you. It took me such a long time to find out who I am, and as I write this song, I'm still not sure I understand. But I'm healthy and I'm happy, and I'm sure that I'll come through, because mostly what I am is you. When I look at my reflection, it's you looking back, I see. I speak in your inflections, there's so much a part of me. For after all, what is a man, and whatever will he be, but a seed that's sown and grown and cut away like a branch from a tree. And I've come a good long way now since I set out from my home, making my own way now, but I never feel alone. Proud of who and what I am, and I hope that you are too, because mostly what I am is you. When I look at my reflection, well, it's you looking back, I see. Speaking your inflections, there's so much a part of me. For after all, what is a man, and whatever will he be, but a seed that's sown and grown and cut away like a branch from the tree. I've come a good long way now since I set out from my home, making my own way now, but I never feel alone. I'm proud of who and what I am, and I hope that you are too, because mostly what I am is you. Oh yeah, mostly what I am is you.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. Gosh, that was great.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, tell us the history of that song.
Well, my wife and I felt really bad because we somehow managed to miss my parents' 25th anniversary. and we were just devastated. So what we decided to do when their 30th anniversary came around, we arranged a little surprise party. We booked a local restaurant and a band, invited all their friends and relatives, and we just had a big party for their 30th. And I sang 2 songs with the band. I sang As Time Goes By, and that song that I had written for them. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house, and it still makes me tear up a little bit. I was getting chills just listening to the lyrics because, you know, I think it's true for all of us. You know, there's a lot of our parents in everybody, and so I wanted to express that to them, and it means a lot to me because they're gone, but the song's still here.
Now you're mentioning that you wrote the song. Is it hard to write a song?
Yes and no. I'm not a songwriter the way Paul Simon is a songwriter. Okay, I don't sit down every day to write songs. I write when I'm inspired. And when I get an idea, sometimes it can be very easy. It just sort of flows through me. Other times I have to really work at it. And sometimes I'll just fail and put a song aside, and then months, years later, I can look at it and rework it, and now, heck, it's a song. So it varies, and for me, it varies widely. But yeah, sometimes it's real easy, sometimes not so easy at all.
Okay, for the viewer that is listening to you now, any advice as to how to pursue becoming a songwriter? Follow your path or take classes? What are your thoughts?
Well, there are classes that you can take for songwriting, and it does teach you about structure, and structure is very important, but so is creativity. In fact, I mentioned that I didn't play music for a long time. What I didn't mention was that when I did get married and get a career, my first career was software development. And one of the reasons that I didn't write a song for so long was that software development is the same sort of creativity within structure that I got from writing music. So I basically was getting it from my work, and I didn't feel that creative desire to write music. Once I got out of software development, I started writing again. It's for me, it's about inspiration, but it is possible to learn the craft, and if you want to be disciplined about it and sit down and write every day, you'll throw away most of what you do. I'm sure Paul Simon does the same thing, but if you write enough, you'll have enough good songs to take out there and play for people, either in your living room or out in bars. It's up to you.
And probably the viewer is looking at you and saying, gosh, you've lived a full life. Are you happy now?
Yeah, I'm very happy now. You know, it's funny. First of all, I was very fortunate to have 2 careers that I really enjoyed doing. I did software development for 30 years, which I loved, absolutely loved. And when I decided that it was time to get into something a little less demanding, that didn't require, you know, 24/7, I became a paralegal, and I got involved in patents and patent paralegal. I was as happy doing that as I was doing software. And now I've got a 3rd career that I love. I've got a family. My wife and I in May just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. I've got 3 kids. I have, in fact, lived a very full life, and I am loving my retirement, except for the COVID part. But it's been a great retirement. Part of that is because we moved from New Jersey to southeastern Connecticut. We did that because Jane's mother was I mentioned I play in Bridebrook. She was in Bridebrook But at the time, she hadn't gone there yet. She was living with Jane's sister in Salem, and we were trying to help as much as we could, but you know, you gotta pack a bag and drive 3 hours up Route 95, which is no fun. So we decided, let's downsize to be near Jane's mom and sister and be helpful. And we found this house in Old Saybrook, and we're completely in love with southeastern Connecticut. We have a great life.
We're starting to run out of time. Any closing thoughts for the viewers?
Yeah, I think it's very important. You mentioned that some of them, a lot of them are my people. People who are, you know, either retired or about to retire, and they have an interest in music. It's a great thing to do. It's something, you know, I talk about the healing that can go on when I play for people, but the healing goes both ways, okay? It heals me too. It's a really good way to spend your time, and when you're not feeling so great, just picking up your instrument and playing can turn things around for you.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Jim. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You've been tuned into Arts and Entertainment. Hope you have a super day. I'll see you next time.